Now we are going to discuss parents and the panacea. When applying the panacea to our parents or caretakers, it's important to understand that most parents have done the best they can with what they were given and based on how they were taught in their childhood. They don't know how to provide that which they do not inhabit within themselves. In general, we cannot show love we do not experience within or comprehend unless it is mastered within. We cannot give what we do not already have. Conceptually speaking, we operate from the level of our awareness, and once we can raise our antenna to the new awareness, we can then, and only then, begin to operate from that new level of heightened alertness.
It's probable that every parent gives their child more than what they had in their personal childhood and may even overcompensate by giving what they lack to their children. Once we can understand this and begin to feel compassion for the caregiver or parent that we may hold feelings of resentment toward, or otherwise holding them hostage where we may have felt the lack, it will begin to nourish the entire generational system. Because otherwise, we will continue to epigenetically transfer this learned behavior onto our children or those that we love as the imprint of what was taught and modeled in our youth. And they will likewise pass it down, and so on. It is a vertical process. Therefore, it contributes most to humanity by doing our generational healing work. Its impact is great, and the sins fall on the parents in the proverbial sense. Every individual generally seeks love or validation from a particular parent and may hold some level of anger, resentment, or bitterness from that parent or caregiver due to the perception of an unmet emotional void.
A healthy exercise to release the trapped feelings and emotions of anger or resentment is writing it down and making a list of the ill feelings that have been harboring internally. Write it out raw as you feel it. Then, beside that list, begin creating a separate column listing what those feelings have taught you in a valuable way that helped mold you into the person you are. Most young children have not yet developed the means to effectively combat when they feel that someone else of authority holds that power. It is demoralizing and degrading to be powerless. That position can make it difficult to act appropriately when others in a high position or higher positions ache to prove their ranking. What are they really trying to prove?
Such proceedings may begin to sow the seed of perseverance to champion your own power in your mind to never again be without a proper resource, and will teach us mental bravery. Now, I'm not referring to gearing up on mental armor or play defense. In fact, quite the contrary. More so, adopting feminine-like qualities, which are developing more self-awareness with greater compassion, nurturing, and understanding to accelerate the power bilaterally. It is a true win-win. When you commit to your inner healing, you no longer metaphorically hold others hostage for their power struggle, but instead you can leverage new perceptibility that they too are not claiming their own power, but internally wrestling. That said, when you can recognize the disillusioned behavior in another to sidestep this scuffle by disengaging in the need to try to take power from others or feel powerless to them, and instead evoke compassion and understanding. This is a common human fallacy that typically begins in youth. See them or yourself as the child version of themselves grasping for emotional security. And yes, these common power entanglements illustrate where issues of authority, such as the misuse and abuse of authority, are formed, as well as relinquishing our power to authority.
When we withdraw our love and use negative behaviors toward others, they are examples of distorted and misdirected love because we feel devoid of love. Imagine that you were laying outside at a pool on the most perfect day. The warm breeze is so perfect and welcoming. You feel so rested that you find yourself naturally dozing off into a very serene state of relaxation and sleep. You're enjoying this moment so much and this very peaceful nap when someone in the pool begins making obnoxious noise while splashing you, interrupting your peaceful nap. They begin splashing harder and harder and getting more and more loud and obnoxious. They are causing you so much frustration and trying your patience. Just as you become so fed up and decide to turn around to take action and do something about it, you realize that they are drowning and trying to keep their head above water. Would this change your perspective on the situation and toward the person? Of course it would. Your anger and frustration immediately dissolved into compassion and empathy that it instantly gave you an impulse to want to help them, right? This analogy was given by Dr. Greg Bear in his Essentials of Real Love series, as he compares a person who is emotionally empty and afraid to the state of panic to that of a drowning person. A drowning person does not mean to hurt other people in their state of mindless panic. They simply can't seem to stop themselves from grabbing onto anything or anyone in their reach that might help to keep their head above water, even if it means taking others down in the process. They're unable to perceive the harm they might cause others as they save themselves. Although this does not justify your behavior, it certainly explains it. When we see our own behavior and the behavior of others this way, we can understand and no longer feel excessively guilty for our own behavior or be angry at others for using these behaviors. The analogy of a drowning person can remind us at times when we behave poorly toward others that we are essentially drowning in our own hardships and doing our best to keep our head above water, which can help us to extend compassion toward others, including those who might be associated with your presenting problem.
Now, if you want to take part in a helpful exercise, you can use the first table to make a list of the raw negative feelings you've been harboring internally. Use the second table to create a separate list of how those feelings have taught you valuable lessons and how others or these experiences or challenges have helped shape you into who you are. You can also refer to your players who have also challenged you to be better in some way. This exercise is very powerful to engage in a new insight and may be brought to light in an opportunity for learning more about your strengths and finding new value in others or those you have held any resentment toward. It is one of the most valuable exercises where I have seen profound shifts occur with every client. We need to both be accountable for our beliefs by examining limiting ones that are controlling our lives and what we say to ourselves and others, particularly the young mind. We must be careful what limiting beliefs we put into others' minds because a number of these beliefs are recycled and irrational, which become our greatest threats to our personal success. Once you have completed this exercise, ask yourself, would you trade any experience in for what you have learned in return? Would you wish this experience away entirely? If you value your learning experiences, there is no need to condemn your past or ever have any regrets. And you can now use your past to create purpose and find value from the areas in which you have been inspired and shaped into the person that you are today and continue to be.
There could be many things that prevent us from forgiving. Perhaps a parent said or did something hurtful. Maybe a spouse is struggling with the fact that the partner broke their marriage vows by committing adultery. Maybe you're struggling with the death of a loved one at the hand of someone else you trusted. You could be dwelling on something you did 20 years ago. Whatever the struggle, learning to forgive could be the key to take your life back or the balance you need to move on and help you to forgive yourself for things as well. So many people struggle with self-forgiveness as if others are somehow more worthy of our forgiveness than ourselves. We can spend our lives trapped in guilt and shame over our past choices, regrets, and mistakes. We can be upset with ourselves for numerous reasons that we can't seem to get past, finding it difficult to forgive others. We may have regrets over our perceived failures in life or feel that we have erred in living up to our ideals or expectations of ourselves, resulting in internal conflict. Many of us hold ourselves to an impossible standard, hoping to make certain to remain perfect at all times. Yet perfection is an illusion we buy into, and error is human nature. We all err at times. Every mistake made is the opportunity to learn a perfect lesson, and learning is a part of the human experience that we all signed up for. Self-forgiveness includes coming to terms with how and why we behaved or reacted the way we did and agreeing not to repeat the same mistake, or as we like to call them, learning opportunity. And this is wisdom in action. Forgiving yourself may be more difficult than forgiving others, yet it is far less technical because it is easier to correct your own choices, actions, and behaviors than it is to correct others, which can be impossible and also not your place. Recognizing and admitting past mistakes will liberate you from holding on to this burden. Do not hold on to regrets or mistakes from the past, but learn from them and choose to make better choices. Again, it's always about going to the solution. You can begin to forgive yourself by correcting many of the mistakes and poor choices you made in the past. And if you've hurt someone, find ways to make restitution and ask for their forgiveness. By doing this, it will make it a lot easier for them to forgive you. In the very least, demonstrate the effort to make restitution and practice good behavior toward them moving forward. This is accountability and empowerment at its best, as well as a high level of emotional maturity, and will always heal the interrelational dynamic. Allow the guilt or anger you have toward yourself to compel you to make the changes you wish to see. No one is a failure because everyone errs and has failed at something. Even failure is relative. With diligence, a series of failures will eventually lead to your success and is often the natural process to success. Remember to appreciate yourself for making better choices and feel grateful for the lesson and for the power you have to change. Then choose again. There is an art to learning how to forgive and possibly forget. Most of us struggle with this everyday battle, but with these tips, you can learn how to forgive yourself and others.
The answer may lie where you face resistance in a parent or struggle to accept in them what you're not yet ready to see in yourself. So take time to reflect where you find love and acceptance in both yourself and another, be it a parent, spouse, or other key player. And likewise, wherever you might be seeking love from a parent, spouse, or another is where you're also seeking love and acceptance within yourself. Again, we often judge in others where we also want to correct and improve within ourselves. This is where we tend to give our power away. Where can you exhibit more love and acceptance for yourself and others where you have also been seeking it?
For many, mental blocks prevent them from forgiving. Recognize that feelings all act like a boomerang that will return to you, particularly the feelings that are higher charged with emotion, including guilt, resentment, or anger, because the more the intensity of emotions, the more powerfully it will be sent out vibrationally and return back to you. Instead, emotionally charge love in the areas that you have been out of harmony in your life or that you have been out of harmony with and see where the nourishment takes it. Now make a list of what you love and make a list of the areas you haven't felt love or you feel blocked. Consider these particular domains where you have allowed something or someone to take away your power because your love is your power. Can you see in each category an item you listed where you can apply more love in the same areas you listed that you do love? Ask yourself what is the difference in how you choose to feel towards these areas and take accountability for your part. Knowing you cannot control others or how they feel, you can only make adjustments to your own beliefs, perceptions, and the actions you take. If it's not serving you, then how can you alter your perception around those areas you either haven't been feeling loved or expressing love? Look at where the common denominator is in the list of items you do love and contemplate why you love them. How can you actively nurture them in your life? If we all know that grass is greener where you water it, then what areas can you choose to water in the areas that need your love and attention?